Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
And here we go, right out of the chute with #1 Florida and number 16 Alabama. Potential for an all-SEC Super Regional. The big story here is Minnesota.
Well, they let 16 teams host regionals. Alabama just got in at number 16, but that means the Tide will host for a 13th straight year here at the Rhodes House in Tuscaloosa. We're going to chat with head coach Patrick Murphy live in studio coming up. But first, we say good evening and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock. And tonight, Diet Pepsi, because I made it through my first week back from vocal cord surgery. I'm feeling good. I pushed it today a little bit, so I decided just a little shot of caffeine will be good for me. Not such a little shot, but it tastes so good. Remember to pick up some great Pepsi products the next time you're at your local grocery store. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. We're off and running, Rodney. And yesterday, it's springtime in Alabama, but football's never far off the minds of fans here. And all 14 SEC football coaches participated in the annual SEC Spring Teleconference. Nick Saban addressed a number of issues with reporters, including a new NCAA proposal about red shirts. The proposal, which wouldn't be approved until January at the earliest, would allow freshmen to play in as many as 4 games without losing their red shirt status. Nick Saban says he's in favor of this particular proposed rule change.
This would give them an opportunity to play some. It would actually enhance their development to some degree. I think with the numbers that we have right now, and the number of games that we're playing, you might be able to play a few more players in some of those games, and that would help some of the other players on your team as well.
I agree, Rod. I'm a big fan of this proposal because of so many players leaving early. Football, as Coach Saban likes to say, is a developmental game. Perfect example is Marlon Humphrey. You know, Alabama wound up redshirting him as a freshman. Then he left after his redshirt sophomore year. Of course, if they had known he was going to leave, they could have played him, but they didn't know. This way, though, you can play a guy, kind of see where he's at. And then if you want to pull him back, you can. If not, you can go forward and let him play, an entire season.
Yeah. Well, I do too. I'm with you on that. I don't know all the details of the rules, so my question is this, and you may know more about it than I do because I haven't had an opportunity to really look into that. But, does it matter which 4 games? I mean, are we talking about the first 4 games? Does it have to be within the first half of the season?
Since it hasn't been specified, I'm going to think it's any 4 games you want to play.
Well, that would be a different
and Brandon's telling me in my ear that it is any 4 games, and that makes more sense because if you're going to make it the first 4 games, and that puts pressure on coaches to get guys in there just to see what they look like. This way, plus if there's an area of need that pops up on your team because of an injury, you could play a guy 2 or 3 games, and then if you didn't need his services anymore, he doesn't lose a year. He could help your team and not count against his eligibility. So I think it's a win-win type of deal. And I think it will pass, but then again, you never know when it comes to proposed rules changes. But Nick Saban's in favor of it, and tell you what, he's in favor of it. I'm probably going to join right in line. All right, Rodney, let's talk about some baseball. The Crimson Tide will wrap up what's been a long season this coming Thursday, Friday, and Saturday with the road series in Nashville against Vanderbilt. Now, Alabama was swept at home by Florida this past weekend. Of course, Florida sweeps a lot of people, and that really eliminated Alabama from any hopes of making it to the SEC tournament in Hoover. So while this weekend series doesn't have any postseason implications, the team is approaching the games the same way that they always do, very serious about trying to go up there and get some wins.
We got 3 games out in front of us. We're going to try to win all 3 games at Vanderbilt this weekend. We don't have a midweek. So, for me and my philosophy of what we're going to do, we're going up there to try to win 3. If there's an opportunity to play some young guys or something like that, we may try to get in a bat in here or there, but we're going to stay focused on what we're doing and finish this course out, this journey.
All right, no way to sugarcoat it. When you've only got 5 SEC wins through 27 games, it's been a long year. Now, the highlight was that 3 of those wins came at Auburn when Auburn was riding high in contention for an SEC regular season championship and somewhat derailed the Tigers' season. They're not going to wind up hosting a regional now. But there have been heartbreaking losses. The most recent was Friday night against top-ranked Florida when, you've got a team in Alabama that held the Gators to 3 hits, got beat on an earned run in the 9th inning. Jake Walters pitched another beauty, and you lose 2-1. But Rodney, too, when you're trying to build a program and you're facing guys like Kyle Wright, who they'll face this week in Nashville, going to be a first-round pick. Alex Lang from LSU, going to be a first-round pick. Alex Fado from Florida, going to be a first-round pick. And you're a struggling team, your margin for error is really small. You know, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm not making any excuses. This has been a bad year. First year or not, it's been a bad year. But I do think that Coach Goff is implementing a plan for the long term. He's got a lot of discipline that's required to be in his program. And while these losses this year are painful, I feel confident that in the future he'll look back and you will look back on this season and see that a lot of positives were learned from what has been a long year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting, Gary. I think, obviously he's got to get, the guys he wants in terms of recruiting and get them in here and kind of get his program the way he wants it. But there's a lot of games that they lost. What is it, in the teens?
Oh, yeah, like 15 one-run games.
Yeah, one-run games. I mean,
14,
you turn
15,
those around and you're talking about,
Could be a different year. Certainly would be in Hoover.
Absolutely. If you remember Jim Wells, the success he started having early on was he started the program was winning those one-run games. Those are really important. Obviously, that's one area that if he can get that turned around, it's a big step.
And let me just say this again, and I haven't talked to Greg Byrne, and I know we live in a society now it's all about instant gratification, but for all the people that have called me and texted me and called into my radio show, Greg Goff's going to be the baseball coach next year. Okay, so you might as well just accept it and pull for the team because, barring something totally unforeseen, you that want a new coach after 1 year are not going to get your wish. He's going to be back. So it'd be in everybody's best interest just to pull for Alabama to get better going ahead in the future. All right, Roddy, some men's basketball news just confirmed this afternoon by the Alabama Athletic Department. Avery Johnson has his replacement for Bob Simon. It's former Georgian assistant Yasser Rosemond. Rosemond spent his early coaching career at Oregon and Seattle University, and then was at Samford for a couple years there in Birmingham before spending the past couple of years at Georgia. He is known for his recruiting, and this gives Alabama a really foothold into the Atlanta area where he's recruited really well. He joins Antoine Petway and John Pelfrey as the full-time Alabama men's basketball assistant coaches. Well, still to come on TITV, the Alabama softball team is hosting its 13th straight NCAA regional. Let that soak in for a moment. That's coming up this weekend. We'll have head coach Crimson Tide, head coach Patrick Murphy live in studio with us. And also coming up, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. As always, the phone number's there on the screen, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Email us at TITV@WVUA23.com or tweet at us using the hashtag TITV to make sure we get it. We'll be back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. The one, the only, Tider Insider TV will return after this.
I'm really excited about it. I think we have some good matchups coming in with Minnesota, Albany, and Louisiana Tech. It should be a fun weekend of softball, and I'm really excited to get started practicing this weekend and watching film.
The Alabama softball team is hosting a remarkable 13th straight NCAA regional, but will welcome in a very difficult group of teams. This field is unbelievable, including Big Ten champ Minnesota that's 54-3. And here to talk about it all is the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Patrick Murphy. I wasn't going to run down the numbers, but since some people seem to think you've forgotten everything you've learned, how about 1,000 wins, 11 World Series appearances, a 2012 national championship, 5 SEC tournament titles, 5 regular season titles, 19 consecutive NCAA tournaments, 13 super regionals in a row, which is the record. Nobody else has done it since they went to super regional play in 2005. And here you are, back in it again, playing for a chance to get to Oklahoma City. Let's start with the field, though. And I know it is what it is, and I don't know all the analytics. I'm more of an eye test guy. I can't believe a team that's 54-3 and won the Big Ten tournament championship is not a top 16 seed, but they're not, and they're here to play in this tournament.
Yeah, and, I told the team, I said, we have to beat everybody to win the national championship at some point. Mm-hmm. So we were kind of the unlucky one, to tell you the truth, to get Minnesota, who's had a great year. I mean, obviously, I think they've won 25 in a row. They won the regular season. They won the tournament. You can't say enough good things about them. But, unfortunately for us, they got sent here, and we got to deal with it. We got Albany, we got Louisiana Tech, and we got Minnesota. All three won their conference championships. So I think that's one of the first times that we've had all champions and not like an at-large bid. But, we got to beat them sometime, and we're very fortunate to be at home. I'd rather be at home playing at the Rhodes House than, up in Minneapolis, which probably would have been the other option. And so that win against Texas A&M at the SEC tournament might have been the difference between us hosting and us going to Minneapolis.
A fifth-place regular season finish, which is obviously in the top half. You've never had a losing record in conference play. You make it to the SEC tournament semifinals against a stacked league. And I do want to point this out because I think it gets lost on some people. Softball is a lot like football in this league. It's a mini arms race. I mean, everybody's paying coaches, everybody's building facilities, everybody's recruiting nationwide. You can be pretty good and maybe sometimes not know it. I mean, this is a tough league. No excuses, but that's just the reality of it.
Well, and an example of that is the 8th place team, Ole Miss, won the tournament. They won 4 games in a row for the first time ever. Somebody that played on the first day played on the last day and actually won the tournament. And I think the parity, I say it every year to you, and you know this. I've been here forever, and so have you. But every year I say this is the toughest year of the SEC, and this year was the toughest year. All 13 got in the NCAA tournament, first time ever. There wasn't a gimme. And it used to be, and you know this, Rodney, there used to be, I could pitch my 2 and 3.
Well, when Ole Miss used to roll in, you just marked it down, win.
Yeah,
I mean, play.
I wasn't going to say a team.
Well,
but
that's how far they've come.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just like any other sport. And really, the 8th place team in the SEC could go to the World Series.
Yeah,
it's
doubt.
that difficult a league, and every team has a great player. It used to be where maybe the top 4 had a great player. Now everybody has a great player, and you got to watch out for a specific kid in their lineup, and it could be a pitcher. So now you got to worry about, hitting a great pitcher and probably playing her twice, and it's not for the faint of heart. You got to have thick skin. You got to be resilient. You got to work your butt off. And for us to finish 5th was a huge accomplishment because we had 3 concussions during the year. We lost our best offensive player after 4 weeks of SEC play in Demi Turner.
2 years in a row, in fact.
Yeah, I know. And actually, we had good news. She was released to do everything.
Good. So she's going to play this weekend.
Well, some.
Hope. Okay.
I'm not sure if she'll start, but she still hasn't seen a live pitch.
Right.
It was short toss. It was
That's an issue.
Yeah, but I said today I was giving her fielding drills, and I said, Demi, are you going to get a mask to play defense? And she said, no, I don't need that.
Not her style.
No, not at all. I mean, you guys would love her if you really knew her.
Yeah.
She's just a great kid.
Well, I mean, obviously, the final story on this season hasn't been written yet. I mean, this team still has opportunities. But, when you look at it, I'm sitting here, I'm walking around, I'm thinking you're, 42-16 or whatever it is, and I hear people complaining, and I'm thinking, what's the deal here? I mean, but I guess it's a compliment to your program, right? I mean,
yeah, it is. And I had a fellow SEC coach grab me at the tournament, and she said, "You did that to yourself," And I guess it kind of hit me. But I'd much rather have fans that are interested in softball.
Yeah.
Than people that could care less.
Nothing worse than apathy.
Yeah.
And you're not suffering from that here.
No. And we love everybody. And I love all the fans, and I hope we have 4,015 at every game this weekend because it would really give us a boost because I know Minnesota has not played with that crowd. I know Albany hasn't, and I know Louisiana Tech has not played in front of that type of crowd. And we could really give ourselves a home field advantage if we get people out there.
So come out to the ballpark, in other words. Coach, good luck. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me on, you guys. Good to see you guys.
And coming up next, a former Alabama football player signed his first NFL contract and quickly reached out to another former Crimson Tide superstar for some advice. And up next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the information will be coming up on your screen on how you can get in touch with us. We'd love to.
I talked to Ha a lot. He just told me, man, come in, work hard, and learn the playbook. Just get in that playbook, learn as much as possible, get under the older guy like a vet, and just come in ready to work. And just know it's a job interview. You got to come in and compete. Nothing's going to be given. So, things like that.
Eddie Jackson signed his rookie NFL contract with the Chicago Bears, went in the 4th round of that draft, but would have been drafted a lot higher if not for that tough leg injury he suffered against Texas A&M last season. But I tell you this, he's a player, he's healthy. Look out for Eddie Jackson. He can make plays. Is what you're looking for in the secondary. All right, let's go to the phone lines. And first up tonight, Rodney, is Thomas down in Opelika. Hey, Thomas, how are you?
How you doing, guys?
Very well.
Hey, I'm a big Patrick Murphy supporter, man, with the women's softball team, man. Don't get me wrong. Just because we ask questions about the softball team don't mean we don't appreciate what he's doing, man, because I think being a coach is one hard job, brother.
It is.
My question is, man, this looks like the overall, do y'all think so? Am I just seeing this on the TV? This looks like the overall team speed is a little bit slower than it has been in the past years, man. I was just wondering.
Well, let me tell you something, Thomas, because I've heard other people say that. And this morning I had Karen Johns on my radio show, who is his former pitching coach, former head coach of Florida and Virginia, now an SEC analyst and statistician. The stolen base numbers last year to this year, Rodney, just about the same. So maybe that's the perception. Statistically, not necessarily the case. I think the biggest difference, Thomas, everybody's looked at the speed and run the bases, probably the home runs are down. And last year, they got a couple people on base, and the next thing you know, there's a home run hit. And, and Alabama, according to Coach Murphy, they got 7 girls that have the green light to run. Yeah, he actually just told me that. They got 7 girls that have the green light to run whenever they want to, Thomas. So I think that may be a little bit of a misperception in regards to the fans. But thanks for the phone call. Let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk with Mary. Mary, you're next up on the program.
Okay, thank you. How you doing?
Very well, Mary.
I got some questions. Will Vandarius Cowan get to play this year?
Yeah.
And is Najee Harris, with him practicing as hard as he is, will he get a chance to play? And will Hoodie Jones also be playing?
Well, first of all, Vandarius Cowan's an incoming freshman linebacker, for those that don't know. And, it's always difficult when you have really good players here for a guy to come in and play. Now, he's extremely talented. I'm not saying that he's not going to play. We'll just kind of have to wait till he gets here, goes through the summer program, and so forth. As far as Hoodie Jones, I mean, he's a returning guy. He's a guy that's had a role. He's got an opportunity to start, maybe in some of the packages, maybe in all of them, Gary. Who knows? I mean, he's certainly been around and has a lot of experience. You asked about Najee Harris. They have a lot of really good running backs, Mary, and I think that Najee Harris is certainly right there at the top of that list. I think he's going to play. I think he's certainly going to have a good, big role on this team.
All right. Thanks for the phone call, Mary. Let's go out to Coker and talk to Leroy. Leroy, what's going on, man?
I just had a question about the softball team. Say they got the girls can run the bases. You've got to hit the ball before you can run the bases. And they don't seem like they can hit the ball, nobody but Bailey Hempfield. They don't have the power hitters. They got good pitching, excellent pitching. But I can remember when they had a pitcher could hit a home run. And, it just aggravates me. And then I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think the recruiting is not as good as it used to be. It's down from what it used to be. I mean, folks may say, well, you're wrong, but it is. It's down from what it used to be. They don't have the hitters. And the base runners and the fielding, they threw away some pitches there that looked like a little peewee team running somebody down trying to tag them out and couldn't do it.
All right, Leroy.
Leroy, somehow they found a way to win 42 games. Now, I don't know. If they won 42 games, there's some really bad teams out there. I
will say this. And Chandler Darris talked about it this week. They do want to get the clutch hit.
Yeah.
There maybe have been times when they've left runners on base, but that's something they're working at. But Leroy, you're entitled to your opinion. I don't agree with all your points, but and recruiting-wise, I mean, they're recruiting, some of the best players in the country. But we appreciate the phone call and your take. We will never not allow you to have an opinion, that is for sure. Well, coming up here on the program, we got more phone calls. In fact, we're going to get to them right after this, so you stay with us here on Tider Insider TV. We'll be back with more right after this timeout. Eddie Lacy is a big man, but coming in under 255 has made his back pocket a little fatter in terms of his wallet. Lacy had a bonus in his Seattle Seahawks contract for weighing in at this particular point at less than 255. Yesterday was that weigh-in. He picked up $55,000 because he's 253. He could earn some more bonuses, as much as $385,000, in fact, in the future, depending on his weigh-ins with the Hawks. They'd like to get him down eventually to 245. He's motivated. Packers let him go. He opens the season. Guess who Seattle plays?
The Packers?
The Packers. Look out. I got a feeling Eddie Lacy's going to run wild. All right, let's go right back to the phone lines. BT is with us here in T-Town. Hey, BT, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, Gary and Ronnie. How about y'all?
Very well.
Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
We had some up and downs on the softball team, Gary, and we have to stay behind them no matter what the circumstances may be.
Good point, BT. I'm with you. And you know, I'll say this, as we were talking with Coach Murphy, I mean, it's a compliment to the program that people are so passionate about it and expect so much. But we know this, or I know this as a sportscaster, and you know it from running TiderInsider.com. And fans have a right to vent. They want to win every time they play. Every game fans want to win. But those that are not happy make a lot more noise than those that are happy. I mean, the majority of fans here are supportive and excited about what's coming up this weekend at the regional. And that's the truth.
Yeah, and listen, going back to Leroy's call earlier, I mean, obviously, you know, there's been some issues this year. They haven't been, some of his points are probably, certainly to some extent, you know, good points. But, you know, again, I mean, this is a team that you look at what Patrick Murphy's done through the years. I mean, he's done an outstanding, incredible job. And this team's won 42 games.
Yeah.
And the story's not over.
Almost any program in the country would swap resumes with Alabama. Real quickly, let's get to an email from Tom in Pelham. What role do analysts serve in terms of player development, interaction, recruitment, et cetera, Rodney? Analysts, what do they do, the analysts on the football staff?
Oh, the analyst, well, I mean, again, you have several, you know, and they've all got different responsibilities depending on what they are. You have an offensive analyst, they can do things like break down film, look at future opponents. Defensive analysts do the same kind of thing. So it's really, you know, they've got a variety, I guess, of you know, things that they can do. But again, preparing for the future is one of those. All
right, we come back. We'll wrap up this edition of TITV. Thanks for the phone calls and the emails. We'll be back on a beautiful evening in Tuscaloosa right after this. The locker room's where you find original elephant wear like we're wearing tonight. Good night, everybody.